Welcome to Colonize the Ocean podcast, where we discuss oceanic colonization, exploration, and education with your hosts Adam Jewell and Brendon Traxler.
Hello, once again, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of the Colonize the Ocean podcast. I was going to do something really dramatic there, but I just didn't have it in me.
I could feel that coming.
I am Adam Jewell, I'm the social media manager for Atlantis Sea Colony, and I am one of your heavier co-hosts. And with me, as always, is my good friend Brendon Traxler, the founder of Atlantis Sea Colony. Brendon, how are you doing?
It is a first off, let me say I'm doing great, but it's the day we're recording this is Mother's Day, so if you're listening to this week, I hope that all the mothers had a great Mother's Day this past Sunday, and because of that, I'm doing great.
Well, that's good to hear. Yeah, we spent some time today making calls to moms and grandmas, and it was also my father-in-law's birthday, so we had like a double whammy today. So yeah, it was a busy day today. Like you said, we're recording on Mother's Day. Um, I played it smart, and I gave my wife gifts on Friday. That way, I could avoid the rush at the store, and I got to spoil her a little early, and then that gives me time to do this. So just trying to hedge my bets a little bit on making things work out.
Yeah, I went and got my sister a birthday, not birthday, but a Mother's Day card today, and they're all sold out. So I got a birthday card and marked out the birthday and put Mother's Day in it. Whatever.
Sometimes you just gotta do what you gotta do. So today we got a couple things that we're gonna talk to you guys about, just like always. I'm gonna go ahead and go first, Brendan,
Okay.
as always, because it turns out like you always, I think, always pick the better ones, and we always have better discussion around yours. So it's good to get the simple one out of the way, or at least the one that I talk about out of the way, and then we get to go in depth with yours. So
fair enough.
So this is what I one of the news articles I wanted to talk about that we had on the Atlantis Sea Colony Facebook page this week was about smart coral reefs. I found this article by zdnet.com. And it talks about smart coral reefs. This underwater fish spotting AI helps protect the rainforest of the sea. So the article kicks off by talking about, and I'll actually just go word for word in their first in their intro with this, that Intel and Accenture are working on a project to monitor and restore coral reefs in the Philippines. Project CORAIL, as in CORAIL, uses artificial intelligence to monitor, characterize, and analyze coral reef resiliency around Pangatalin Island. I'm probably butchered that name, which is in the Philippines. So, is what they were kind of doing before is like when they were trying to monitor the health of the coral reefs, they would just use divers to go down and check the life of the coral reef, based off of like kind of like the fish population, and just checking the overall health of the reef itself. But the problem with that is that it was you had to have divers go down for 30 minutes at a time, and it wasn't consistent. It was based off of just sporadically how they would do that. And one of the things they check for is, like I said, the abundance and diversity of the fish, which is kind of the main indicator of the health of the reef. So is what they did is Intel and this company Accenture, I'm sorry if I'm butchering that name, but basically they set up like a little concrete device with a camera down there, which takes pictures and videos, sends it up to like a buoy system, which then collects the data for this company to study it with. So the cool thing about that is that it's more consistent, and they're being able to monitor it nonstop, or I shouldn't say nonstop, but a lot more. They can see the life come and go down there. So it's one of those things that I guess the moral of kind of what I take out of this is that we're constantly being bombarded with just like any news, we always hear the bad stuff that goes on. So we're constantly hearing the news, like when it comes to ocean stuff, about the coral reefs are dying and how everything's just a mess in the ocean. Well, one of the cool things like this is that we're using technology, and technology is getting further developed, and we're utilizing what we have out there to kind of be able to not only help but monitor what we're doing. And so yeah, it was one of those things that, you know, I kind of foresee um, once underwater colonization gets put in place, like what we're trying to accomplish is that, you know, if we have scientists and marine biologists that want to live underwater, much like the Aquarius um, science research facility, that they can utilize this kind of stuff, but also be close to it, and be able to um, just be able to monitor that and get more realistic data on what's kind of going on with the health of coral reefs and just underwater biodiversity altogether.
Yeah, you know, something I've been thinking about when were saying that is something cool about this podcast. Kind of segue, not really a segue here, but off the track a little bit, is we put out so much content every week, and I thank you for that, because Adam, if you don't know, puts out almost all the content we do, but I don't get to see everything that goes out there, and so we would do these. You bring up articles I either didn't completely missed or didn't really dive into, so it's cool to hear this other stuff that is going on out there, and maybe dive into articles that maybe didn't do as well or something along those lines. I think it's one of those things where we're seeing AI, which is a big buzzword right now, and there's arguments both ways, whether AI is, you know, the downfall of humanity or the godsend, and where it's falling in. But it's neat to see this technology used in a way like this, and just I think it was the last week's podcast we were talking, and it's just about 3D printing and how big of a deal that's going to be. And I think that as big of a deal as 3D printing is, AI is just going to dwarf 3D printing as far as just how massive it's going to be of an impact on mankind. And hopefully, we hope that most of it will be good, similar to this type of situation here. So yeah, I mean, it's great to hear about something that's, you know, positive for the coral reefs. Like you said, we hear so much bad about it. Even in the news here recently, they're talking about the Great Barrier Reef and, you know, issues with it. But it's great to hear that we're able to monitor this, and hopefully this is a step in the right direction.
Yeah, and it kind of ties into one of the issues that we face a lot is, and we bring it up probably every other podcast, is that a lot of the feedback we get, or I guess criticism we get, is that what we're going to be doing is going to be destroying the underwater
ecosystem.
Yeah, ecosystem. Thank you. I was for some reason struggling to find that word. But so much of what we've been finding, like just in our adventure into this, is that there is a lot of people that have figured out ways of rebuilding and been, you know, helping this. Like when we talked to Chad Albertowski, he was talking about they're developing systems that not only can build coral and stuff, but talking about how they can absorb the CO2 or whatever, you know. So, you know, you talk about climate change, global warming, whatever the buzzword is with it. But, you know, we've developed a system, or we're developing systems that are actually countering that, which, you know, we don't get to hear those news articles unless it's, you know, from organizations like us, because so much of the news that gets put out into the mainstream is all about how doom and gloom everything is. But I mean, when you really get to dig into it, there's a lot of good things being done. And, you know, if people dive into it, there's a lot of, like I said, they can find these organizations, they can help these organizations, and yeah, things are on the up and up, I think.
Yeah, definitely. And, you know, talking about coral reefs and stuff like that, you know, for all my life, you know, the big thing to do was to take an old airplane or a bus or whatever and drop it in the ocean and let it become a natural coral reef, which is great. But now we're able to use technology on top of that versus just dropping something in the ocean and over time allowing it. we've got ways of speeding up coral development, and now we got AI coming into play as well. That's a very positive story, I think, for this week.
Absolutely. So, what do you got for us this week, buddy?
Well, actually, mine kind of ties into yours a little bit too. I did it on a video that we put out earlier in the week. It's called "Why the Ocean is Still Unexplored." It's by a YouTube channel, Unveiled, and it's about 7.5 minute long video. But it's one of the best. I think it's one of the best videos I've watched on this topic. I've seen a lot of them. They go into really deep, but they hit so many good points in this thing. And one of the ones they're talking about, start off with, was being underwater, being with the ecosystem allows us to better, monitor, assist, and see what's going on. So they talked about that, but they're basically, the whole gist of what they're saying is it comes down to funding and money. They're talking about the difference between space and the oceans, and the funding difference between NASA and NOAA, and just a bunch of stuff like that. I don't want to give away too much of the video, because I think it's a 7-minute watch. It doesn't take any time to watch it, but they got some really good stuff in there, talking about why the ocean's still unexplored, and why everybody's trying to get to space, and the pros and the cons to that as well. And a lot of it we've said on here before, and we will continue to repeat and say more in the future on that as well, and through our AMA, and just through other articles we're working on putting out there as well. But yeah, I think it all basically boiled around to the almighty dollar.
Yeah, and the I guess disappointing thing to think about is that we're much more likely, unless things change, we're much more likely gonna start living on Mars and the moon, and already be trying to figure out how to explore and create life on other planets and other, I guess, entities before we'll even know what all is on our own planet. And we always talk about the fact that the Earth is like 70% water, and only a very small percentage of that has ever been
5%.
mapped. Yeah, 5% has been explored. And so it's like, we're gonna get to Mars quicker than we're gonna figure out what all is underneath water. And one of the things in one of the upcoming articles that I have coming this week is something that I found today, is that there's a lot of researchers that are thinking that there could, keyword could, be ties to treatment for what's going on right now, the COVID-19 thing. That they think that there could be treatment for COVID-19 tied with just like oceanic type materials, not materials I should say, but vegetation and stuff like that, where they believe that there's going to be a tie-in with it. Now, that's all theoretical right now, obviously, but it's one of those things too where we don't know what's all out there. There could be answers to sickness out there based off of what we don't even know is out there. And yeah, like I said, it's just kind of sad to think about that we're so worried about going elsewhere right now, which is cool. It's cool to explore and all that. I don't want to downplay that, but in the philosophical, spiritual, aspect, if you want to go there, is that we have this big, beautiful Earth that I think was meant to kind of have everything that we'd ever need on it, but we might not know what all is there. I mean, maybe I got carried away with that tangent.
And I think you're on. I've heard for years too. Is like people are saying, "Oh, well, the cure for cancer could be underwater," and maybe it is. We don't know, and that's part of the problem. And they say that the real problem with it is the density of water. We've got all of Mars, we've got all Moon, 100% mapped, and yet we don't have almost none of the ocean mapped. And the only time it ever gets mapped is if there's a catastrophe where we're having to find something on the ocean floor. Then we're sending sonar and stuff down there, and that's the problem, is because the water is so dense, you can't just use radio waves or whatever to monitor it. We have to drop sonar and do it slow and painstaking. And I think that in the video they said that they figured it would take $4 billion to completely map, I think it was the Atlantic, which is within the budget, but there isn't a need for it, or a perceived need for it, and so that's why it's not done. But I think that goes back to, once again, as we develop and push man towards the ocean, and as we start developing underwater colonies, cities, whatever, technology is going to change and grow towards that. I mean, we've seen that with everything else. As you start developing something, the technology gets simpler and it gets better and it grows. And I think the same thing will be said for underwater too. As we start to live down there, to make life easier, the technology will come and support that as well. And I think that's a big push for it as well. Let's get down there. Let's start work on these technologies that's going to help us figure out what's down there.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that I've said it many times before, that one of the things that I've loved about this project, and just even before I was involved in this project, is I love animals. I love fish, like being able to like go to zoos and learn about stuff, and just watch these nature documentaries. And it's like, how many other cool life forms are out there that we don't even know about? I mean, like you said, the only time we ever discover things is by accident, um or by happenstance, where it's like we might be in a certain part of the world for some other reason, and we just happen to stumble upon something. There's not a lot of, like you said, direct need to go out and explore this stuff. And it's sad, because it takes sorry, that was my dog. It takes a philanthropist or something like that that's just willing to throw the money out there to do it just because.
Right.
And there's not a lot of those out there. There's some, but I mean, the big thing right now is space. And like I said, I don't want to knock that, because it is a very cool thing that the human race is working on. But at the same time, like I said, it just saddens me to think that we could just potentially never know what's here, and we could already be leaving this world behind.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think that's, once again, all these articles will be in the show notes, so you don't have to go back and find them on our Facebook page or wherever we post it to. And I definitely urge on both these articles to go back and look at them, watch the videos, and yeah, we'd be curious to hear what your thoughts are on them too. So definitely hit us up on social media too about this.
Absolutely. And before we close it out, I want to make a quick push, because I always forget this on all of our other outros. But we do have a Patreon, and like right now, I know it's a tough time for a lot of people, depending on what they're going through with this the pandemic that's going on. A lot of people have lost jobs and all that stuff that's going on. But we do ask that if you have the opportunity to go to our Patreon, and be able to sign up. You can, I mean, $1 a month or $5 a month. I think are our tiers right now, and we're working on that too. And really, like I said, if it's something that you guys are capable of doing, not only does it help us with the podcast, it helps us with the Atlantis Sea Colony project as well. And it could go from anything to, like I said, helping us, from business software to recording software, and it could go to being able to start building the actual Atlantis Sea Colony habitat, the first one. So a lot of this comes down to, we've kind of known for a while, unless we come across that one person that does have the big bank account. We do think this is going to be self-funded or crowdfunded. So like I said, if you guys have the opportunity to be able to donate, we'd greatly appreciate that. So you can check out www.patreon.com/Atlantis Sea Colony for that. And for the other stuff, we have www.atlantisseacolony.com, www.colonizetheocean.com. By the way, Brendon just updated the Atlantis Sea Colony website. It looks nice, so go check that out.
And all the social media links are right at the very top and easy to find if you're on your desktop version, or right there in the link. But so all of our socials are now there, quickly available.
Absolutely, and that includes the Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, Reddit, YouTube, LBRY. Like I said, Patreon. Please check us out there. I think I got them all there. I usually always forget one. I notice after like we record and I go back and
there's a couple you missed, but that's fine because they're all on the page. And
yeah, no matter what, like most of the high profile social medias, we are on it, and you can find us at Atlantis Sea Colony. So come join us on there and join the discussion on everything that we got going on. And once again, thank you guys for the support. And by the way, we do have an AMA coming up. So when this is released, if you guys have any questions about Atlantis Sea Colony, or what we're doing, what we're planning with that, have those questions to us. You can message us, either through our emails, which you can find on the website, or through the social media itself. Just message us through there. By May 15th, I think is what we said. So yeah, May 15th. I have my little sheet over here. So yeah, do that, and we would gladly answer any questions in the upcoming video we got. So once again, guys, thank you so much for joining. Brendon, anything else you got to add?
Nope, you got it all covered.
All right, thanks, guys, and we'll see you again next week on another episode of Colonize the Ocean, the podcast.
Thanks.